I guess Raj needs to join now. Anyone from the Smart Scaler team, please connect with Raj.
Taking a follow-up.
So let's continue our discussion with test scenarios first. So I hope every one of you remembers what exactly is test scenario. Okay, again, I'll take your silence as that it's yes. Okay, let's do one thing. Even if you guys can't just reply, you can just go ahead and type in the chat box itself. Okay, that yes, you do remember, or whatever questions or confirmations I need from my end, you either need to unmute yourself or you can write in the chat box itself so that I can just get a confirmation from you guys that yes, you are understanding. Okay, so first, as soon as you start your testing journey, you need to prepare the test scenarios after you are done with the test plan itself. Now, what exactly do we, or I, or more appropriate term would be, what exactly is the need of test scenario document, a separate document? Any guesses from any one of you?
To get the better understanding of the product, product to test.
Not the better understanding, something else. Like if you want to get the better understanding of the product itself, you can, for that you can just refer the FRS document. Why go for that test scenario?
To focus on the specific area where we are testing.
Yes, that's the correct answer. To focus on the specific areas where we are testing. Now, test scenario generally covers our entire application, and there are few functionalities that are very critical for our application. Now, we need to make sure that these functionalities are ranked according to their priorities. So, the most important priority would be P0. In this case, would be P0. And the least important priority, that's P4. So, what exactly do we mean by that? When any scenario has been given the priority P0, it means that if any test cases fails in this priority scenario, then you need to stop your testing and inform the developers or the development team regarding the test case failures. And until and unless they fix this issue for this P0 scenario, the testing is not gonna proceed in most cases. But under certain circumstances and taking the approval of the test lead, we can proceed with the testing. But majority of the time, we won't be testing. Okay, that is the reason we allot priorities. How important is that scenario, or how important is that functionality? So let us discuss each type of scenarios. First of all, as soon as you get the FRS document, you start preparing the test scenarios. Now, you'll prepare the test scenarios not based on the priorities, but the functional document. As soon as you get that requirement, you need to prepare the test scenarios for that. So, as you might remember, while going through the FRS documents, what is the first functionality that we encounter for our e-commerce store? That's the login functionality, login and log out. So that is the first scenario that we have created. Validate the working of register account functionality. And that has been given the priority P0. Okay. Because it is one of the most important. The entire purpose of our e-commerce platform is going to be nullified if the register functionality is not working correctly. Because our main reason behind developing an e-commerce website is to sell products. And if we are not allowing, or if the customers are not able to register themselves, then they won't be able to buy anything. So the entire purpose of our e-commerce website would not be fulfilled. So that is the reason we assign this register functionality the highest priority. Okay, the next column, the number of test cases. During of test case scenario, you can leave it blank, because you can't just assume how many test cases you need to write for this particular scenario. So during the time of scenario creation, you can leave this column as blank. Now you need to attach a reference point as well. And why do we need a reference point? For our future reference, just to make sure that how exactly we came across that requirement. Okay. In most of the cases, you will be getting your requirements through the FRS document only. But in certain cases, there are chances that the client might have communicated certain requirements at a later point of time through emails or any chats. So we can even give that reference that yes, now these new requirements came through email from the client. So we can just write that email reference is the email, and we can give the link itself. Now, we need to identify each scenarios individually. So you need to give the IDs also. In this case, it's TS-001. The reason behind it is we do have the initial TS just for the identification purpose, that while reading the ID itself, anyone can understand that it's a test scenario, and that too the very first test scenario. That's why it has the initials TS and after that -001. Okay. Any doubts up until now?
No doubts from my side.
Okay. And rest of you guys?
I'm good.
Raj? Yeah, I think he might. Oh, he might be busy. Okay, let us assume that Raj also has no doubts. So let's proceed. So coming on to the next scenario itself. Validate the working of login functionality. Again, it's one of the fundamental features, and that too, one of the most important one. Because as soon as we are done with the register functionality, we need to give them the login functionality. Correct? And if they are not able to log in, again, they won't be able to buy the product. So that's the reason we have given it a P0 priority. The number of test case, again, you can leave it blank, and after you created the test case, you can update the number here. And why do we keep the numbers here? Just to keep track of how many test cases are there for any particular scenarios for our future reference. Again, where exactly did we get the reference from? The FRS document. And the ID would be again TS-002. It would be the second scenario itself. Now, coming on to the third scenario, that's validate the working of logout functionality. As once we are done with the login functionality, then we need to provide the logout functionality as well. Reason being security concerns, because you might have your personal details stored in your account, like your payment details or your basic information, your address and everything. So that data needs to be protected. And how exactly we can do that? By giving you the logout functionality. So even if someone tries to open our website in the same device that you were using, they'll have to log in. And we can assume it safely that yes, they don't have your login ID and password. So there won't be any security risk. So similarly, we have assigned it a priority P0, the number of test cases that it has 11, and reference point is FRS. ID is TS-003. The next scenario, that is the fourth one. Reference point is FRS. Now, validate the working of forgot password functionality. Now, we have given it a priority P2. Reason being, what is the rationale? Like as soon as you register in any website, more than 99% of the people that would register in a website today only, or at the very instance, they won't forget the password. They would remember that password for at least a day or a week, you can say minimum, most of the customers. So it's not that critical of a functionality. Yes, it is important functionality. We can't just leave it, but it's not at par with the registration or login or logout functionality. We can reduce its priority. So that's the reason we have given it a P2 priority. Though it's an important functionality, but not at par with login or logout. And again, the number of test cases that we have for it. Okay. Now, again, one of the fifth scenarios, reference point is FRS. Validate the working of search functionality. So it is one of the critical functionalities of our website. Okay. So we need to give this functionality, but if this functionality is not working, let us assume, then still we would be able to sell our products, correct? If the search functionality is not working, if any of the customers comes to our website, if he's able to log in, then he would be seeing some products in our homepage itself. I hope you guys do remember the homepage here. As soon as it comes, even if the search functionality is not working, he'll see few products here. And amongst these products, he can purchase any if he wants. Okay. So it's not a blocker functionality, but it is one of the high priority ones. So we assign it priority P1. Don't worry if you are getting confused which priorities do I assign to which scenarios. By practicing it, you'll understand which priorities you need to assign. Again, the number of test cases, you can write it at a later stage when you're done with the test case writing itself. Yes, and one more thing, whenever you write the test scenarios, it's generally a convention that you start with validate. Okay, so your first word should be validate, and then it should have whatever functionality or whatever feature you need to cover. So that's why there is validate the working of search functionality, validate the working of forgot password functionality. Okay, now let us discuss the next scenario. TS 006 reference FRS. Validate the working of product compare functionality. So we do have this product compare functionality as well. If I just right now I'm not able to find. We'll just figure out where exactly is the compare functionality. So I guess you guys do have an idea what exactly do we mean by compare functionalities. You might have seen this functionalities in other website as well, especially for tech websites, where you compare two products side by side. They list all the functionalities of each of the products, and based on the comparison, you can make your decision which product you need to buy. I guess you guys are aware of this functionality, correct?
Yes, they usually have the compare button
Yes.
where we can click and compare the product, like price wise or the product company wise, like that.
Yes, correct. That is the compare functionality itself. So compare functionality, it's not that big of a functionality, because even if we don't have that compare feature in our website, still customers won't be having that much of a problem. Because if you try to use that compare functionality, if you try to find out the compare functionality in Amazon, you won't find it, correct? Especially in mobile device, in your Amazon app itself, you won't find that compare functionality. That side by side comparison, you won't find it, correct?
Yes.
So that's not that big of a functionality depending upon your use case. So that's why the priority has been given P4. Okay, just to
Okay.
make sure that yes, it's not that big of a deal, and if any test case is not working in this functionality, then yes, we can just leave it for the time being, and we can go ahead with the release also. That's why it is given the priority P4. Again, number of test cases, you can fill this section at a later point of time once you're done. Now let's discuss a P3 scenario. Now, for that, we are going, let's go find out something else. Yes, let's go with TS hyphen O24. Reference point, functional requirement and specification. Validate the working of my order. In that my order section, you need to verify the recurring payment functionality. Okay, and it has been given the priority P3. The number of test cases that it has is 9. So why was it given the P3 functionality? First of all, it is the subpart of my order section, and it's the recurring payment functionality. Most of the customers in any e-commerce platform won't opt for recurring payments. Most customers, what they order, they give a one-time order. So that's why its priority was listed as P3. Are we clear on it?
Yes.
Any doubts up until now?
Not from my side.
Okay, and rest of you guys, if you do have any doubt, feel free to speak or write in the chat box. I'll give you 30 seconds. If you do have any doubts, let me know. If not, we'll move towards our next topic. Okay, I got the confirmation from Rajan. Everything is good. Okay. And Raj, I think, might be busy. So let us move towards our next topic of discussion. So now we would be discussing our test case document, okay, in detail. So yes, now this is what a typical test case documents looks like, okay. The very first page, it's gonna have few basic details. First of all, the project name, so that if anyone opens the file itself, they'll be aware what exactly is the project name, who has prepared, what are the versions. By versions, I mean on which version have we executed these test cases. I guess you guys are aware that there are multiple versions of a software. The first version, the second version, correct?
Yes.
So there, in testing phase itself, you'll have to test the entire application on the entire version itself, correct? Or
Yes.
you might have to execute few test cases. So you can just write that detail down here. The very first version 1, you need to test the entire thing. The version 2, update with the client feedback. Now, first iteration, it was the initial building phase. Second iteration, there were few feedbacks from the clients that they wanted certain improvement. So with that feedback, we did the second version of this document itself. Okay, once we are done with this document updation, third, again, we send this document to the client for their feedbacks. If they don't have any, we just freeze these requirements. If they do have any feedback, we'll incorporate those feedback. Again, in version 3, added the test cases for new functionalities. Now, there might be some requirements that the client wanted after the release of version 2. So he provided us with all the requirements. And once we got that requirement, now the development team started working on the development, and we as a tester started working on the test cases itself and added those test cases. Okay, so that's our very first page. Second page, that's our scenario, the same that we were discussing earlier. So we do have a separate document for scenarios, just for because the scenarios are the first thing that we create. So as soon as we do create a separate document just to make sure that we can share it with all the stakeholders, the managers and the product and the customer itself, so that they can refer that. Now that same test case scenarios would be copy pasted here as well for our reference. And there would be a slight alteration here. Okay, as you might have seen in the section of test scenario ID, we have hyperlinks, correct? Here. These are the hyperlinks, the section that I'm highlighting. Okay. The reason behind it is the reason for creating the hyperlink is so that we can easily map with the test cases itself. Now, as soon as I click on this, it's gonna redirect me to that test cases. There are 27 test cases. And if we click on that scenario ID, it's gonna navigate me straight to that test cases. Now, let us discuss the test case here. First column, the test case ID. So, how exactly do we define the test case ID? The first initial would be TC. It refers to test case. Okay. Second is RF. Any idea what exactly is the RF here?
Reference.
Required functionality.
So here it says FP. Why so?
FP.
Figured person. And here it says LF. LF.
FP is a first priority.
Not the first priority. Okay. So here RF is the abbreviation for registration functionality.
Okay.
So registration functionality. Login functionality, it would be LF.
LF.
Sorry. Logout functionality, as login and logout has same initials, so that's why we wrote LG for logout functionality. Forget password, FP.
Okay.
So that is the reason we write FP here, and hyphen the number of test case, the order. Okay, are we clear?
Yes.
Now we need to map this test case to any particular test scenario, correct? So this was the registration functionality. So we need to map it to our registration test scenario. So this is the registration scenario. This is the test scenario, correct? That the test case was mapped to. Okay, test scenario 001. This scenario, this test case has been mapped to. Now, next, the test case title. It's something that we just give to the test case a brief introduction, validate the registering an account by providing only the mandatory fields. Okay, what exactly are we trying to test here? That's what we give in test case title. Prerequisite, as we had already discussed, what are the conditions that we require in order to test the test cases. In this particular case, we need to have that application active on our screen. That's why the precondition is open the application. Okay, now we need to write the steps here. How exactly are we trying to achieve this? Validate the registering an account by providing only the mandatory fields. Click on my accounts, drop menu. Click on, sorry. Yes, click on my accounts, drop menu, then you get the registration part. Then click on the registration, click on register option, enter the details, mandatory fields and password, click on continue button. Okay. Click on continue button that is displayed in the account success page. Test case data, not applicable, because every time when you try to register, you need new details, correct? You can't register with the same details every time. So that's why the test data is not applicable here. Now expected result. User should be logged in, taken to the account success page, and proper details should be displayed on the page. That's our first expected result. Second, the user should be taken to accounts page and confirm email should be sent to the registered email address. So that's what happens when we try to register in any website, correct?
Yes.
So this is how it works. Now, again, there would be section of actual result. So these are the expected results. Now, this is the actual result. As soon as you execute the test cases, what was the actual result? You need to write that down here. Now, the priority. Suppose that the confirmation message was not displayed, but you were able to register. So that now as confirmation message is not displayed, we can reduce the priority. But if we are not able to register only, then the priority would increase depending upon our situation. Okay. Now the result. In result section, we generally choose whether it's gonna be pass or fail or blocker. And in comments, if we want to give any kind of details here, like currently we were like for the entire registration process in dev environment takes more than a minute for the processing to happen. We need to check in the production that it takes less than 10 seconds. Okay. If we want, we can write something like that for our future references. Are we clear on it?
Yes.
Any doubts from you guys?
No doubts from my side.
Okay. So we are already, oh, overboard with our time, let us quickly discuss RTM. Okay. Now, RTM generally refers to requirement traceability matrix. Okay. And what we do in this requirement traceability matrix is we map our test scenarios with the test cases itself. Like we have our very first test scenario, that's TS-001. So we give a detail about our test scenarios, like validate the working of register account and functionality, and we write all the test cases, the IDs of all the test cases for that particular scenario. We need to prepare this requirement traceability matrix as well. For your reference point of view, I had prepared the RTMs for 2 scenarios. For rest of the scenarios, you need to prepare the RTM itself. Okay, we'll be sharing you the format. And the reason being, it's for the reference purposes of managers and for you as well. That you, if you want, what are the number of test cases that are there, you can just go through this document and figure it out, that how many test cases are mapped to how many scenarios. Are we clear about our RTM?
Yes.
So we'll be sharing all the documents with you guys. I'm informed this session might be ending in a minute or so. So let me quickly tell you a few things. So whatever we have discussed till now, we'll be sharing you some sample documents with you guys. Okay. Now, the entire process that I had explained, you need to follow that entire process in the similar manner and prepare each and every document. We'll share with you the initial formats. Okay.
Okay.
You need to prepare everything by yourself. And if and when you are stuck at anything, you can just let me know and I'll help you out there. But it is very important that you complete this. This is how the industry works. Okay. And
Okay.
you need to have that practical experience. So you'll be doing your project assignments. The details would be shared over the email with you guys.